Welcome to the List Building Masterclass. And so we've been holding these now for a few months, very popular. And so we are going to have a wonderful gift inside of the webinar that most people will be able to take advantage of. Most of you are going to love that. So let's just talk about what we're going to do here. So who am I? My name is Ryan Dixon. I'm the Vice President of Sales at REIPrintMail and REISmartData. And we are holding this list building masterclass very simply because as one of the largest REI marketing companies in the United States, we do marketing for a bunch of real estate investors, and we get lists every day. And what we noticed was there was a problem because most of the lists are terrible. And so we wanted to help and spread the knowledge of how to build lists appropriately so that you could build better lists, and then you can get more deals. And that's our mantra, is for our clients to get more deals. So let's talk about what we're going to cover today. We are going to cover absentee lists, the filters that we use in those absentee lists right now, because it's a very, very popular list, and it's probably our highest performing list if we talk about just sheer amount of deals. And then we're going to talk about vacant lists. We're going to pull a live vacant list. We're going to talk about a pre-built list inside of our REI Smart system that is called highly likely to sell, that has been getting the highest response rate that we have on any list right now. And then we're going to talk about an owner-occupied list. And that's a very tricky list, and you need to know how to pull it because it's usually a lot of data. But also, actually, before we get into that, I'm also going to talk about what determines the size of your list and, how you really target, because you need to have a plan before you get started and before you start pulling data, because just going out and pulling as much data as possible is pretty useless, especially if you have a budget. And most of us who are real estate investors, I'm one of them. I see a lot of my real estate investor colleagues, even some people from St. Louis here. Hello to all my St. Louis people. I know that most of my investor friends, like myself, have a budget when we market. So we can't just go pull unlimited data and send unlimited marketing. So where do you start? What do you do? And so I'm going to go over that first. What we are going to do at the end of this presentation is we are going to offer everybody access to 5,000 free leads inside of Smart, which is here, right above my head there. And so REISmartData is a list building company that we've been using for years, and we bought the company probably about a year ago. We bought the company, and we've been slowly starting to promote it. It's not really a profit center for us, but it does help our clients a whole lot because they need data in order to do mail, and that's really, really important to the process, which is why we bought the company. So let's get into how you determine your list size and how you're going to target. You need a plan. So what do I mean by that? Well, basically, when you target an area, you can easily do yourself a big injustice by diluting your probability for success. Marketing, and I don't care if you're cold calling, I don't care if you're doing mail, I don't care if you're doing texting, it really doesn't matter. The fact is, it's all based on a probability. And so what we see with a lot of people is when they start, especially if you're trying to get to your first deal, you're saying things like, I want to start over here in this county, and then I want to do this county, and then I really like this city over here, and then my mom lives over here in this state, and I like this area. So, really what I want to do is I want to do all of them. What we have to do is you have to focus on an area. You must focus on an area that definitely meets your budget. And the probability for you to get a deal is different in different areas. For instance, like Texas right now, 4,000, 3,000 pieces per deal, somewhere in there, right? St. Louis, where I'm at, is somewhere around, 2,000 pieces per deal, somewhere around there. Florida is 4,000, 5,000 pieces per deal. So ultimately you have to know how much data you need and what your plan is. And what do I mean by your plan? Your plan has to be X amount of deals in X amount of time. You can't just go out, grab some data, throw it to the wind and go, let's see what happens. It's a great way to lose money. And so you really have to have a plan. And so you need to know, based on your marketing style, how much it takes in order to get a deal. It may be 10,000 text messages in the area to get a deal, right? It may be 200 or 500, cold calls in an area to get a deal. It may be, like I said, 4,000, 3,000 pieces of mail to get a deal. You need to lean on your marketing company and really find that out. If you don't have that information, then how the heck are you going to create a plan that puts you inside of the realm of probability? You must be inside of the realm of probability. If not, then frankly, you're going to be spending a lot of money on marketing that you shouldn't be, because you're not aiming close enough to the target. So typically what we do is we take a list and we hit it 3 times over a 90-day period. Now, sometimes we hit it 6 times. Sometimes we hit it twice. We let the history of the list kind of tell us exactly what's going on, especially if it's a specialty list, that's maybe a smaller list, but it's very, very specific. So, but typically, if you think of living your life 1 quarter at a time, it's going to help a whole bunch, because you're going to be able to say, all right, how much marketing am I going to put out there inside of a 90-day period, and how many deals should I get? My marketing experts tell me that I should get X amount of deals per X amount of marketing, and that's how you pick the size of your list. Does all of that make sense? Because really, we experience this a lot where everybody's just kind of getting a round number, or 5,000 or 3,000 or 2,000, and the fact is, it may not be enough in Florida. It may be too much for your budget. Then what's the point? You could have targeted a lot deeper, and you could have gotten a much higher probability in order to get that deal. And so really think about that. And I'll take some questions on that later, but that's really where you should start. How many pieces or how much marketing does it take for me to get a deal? And then that's what's going to dictate the size of my list. Then how many times do I hit that list in order to, sorry, I'm getting a phone call there, turn that off. How many times do I hit that list in order to be successful? Okay, so now let's jump right into the absentee list. Now I'm going to share my screen here, and if somebody could just go ahead and give me a thumbs up when you see it. Let's see here. How about now? Can we see this? Wonderful, wonderful, thank you. All right, so what we're going to do now, understand now, Smart Data is a fantastic system, and what I am going to do as I start to build these lists is I'm going to put in the filters first, because we really want to focus on the filters themselves. And then, so you'll see me go to an area geographically. So right now we're going to go to an area I know pretty well, St. Louis, Missouri here. And then while I'm here, giving you something nice to look at, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this geographically so that it's not thinking when I'm putting in the filters, so that we can talk about each of the filters and get through them relatively quickly. Now, in the SMART system, it's very famous for its vacant lists. It's got great vacant data, and we're going to do that in a little while, but we're not going to do that right now. So I'm not going to click that filter. But what we are going to do is we're going to exclude bank-owned properties. Very popular to do that. You do not want to mess with bank-owned properties unless you're qualified to do that, meaning you know how to work with banks. And those type of properties. Very few investors do. That's usually not what our clients are looking for. We're going to omit properties currently active pending on the MLS. Why? Pretty simply, we don't want to compete with agents. So it's very cool that this system can do that. And so we want to make sure and remove those. Now, here's our absentee button. Exclude properties where the mailing and property address are the same. So let's talk about that for a second. What is an absentee list. An absentee list is someone owns someplace other than where they live, right? So they just live somewhere other than the property that you're targeting, right? So it could be a landlord. Tired landlords are great right now. Why? We're at the top of the market. They're seeing it come down a little bit. A lot of them that have owned it for 10 years and 20 years don't want to go through another real estate cycle. So they're saying, I want to get out now. And I'm not dumb enough to fix up the property because I'm a real estate investor. I'm not going to fix it up. I'm going to let the next guy do that, which means you could have value and you could go in, create value, and then get a good deal and make some money, right? And so that's why absentee lists are doing very well right now. Absentees are also great because you get a little bit of everything. You get some probate in there, you get some inheritance in there. Obviously, you get vacants and things like that. That's why absentee lists are so great, but we do have to pull them correctly. So now let's go down here to sales data filters. Let's just go to, if I skip a filter, by the way, I don't care about it. I don't really use it if I skip it. All right, market value. In the St. Louis area, I want to keep it somewhere under 300,000. And I know for a lot of you in different places, you're like, what? Yeah, we have cheaper homes here. So I'm going to keep it under 300,000. Let's talk equity. So we got 51 to 74, 75 to 100, and include unknown equity. Let's talk about unknown equity. If you get one thing out of this presentation, I want you to get this out of it, that you should always, 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 always include unknown equity. There are certain big franchises out there. I see a few people in the attendees that will know exactly what this is. Some big franchises out there have pet names for this because I don't think that they wanted the newbies to know this. But the fact is that unknown equity is old money. It's fantastic. There's a lot of deals there. And if you don't include unknown equity in your list pools, you are missing out on deals. So make sure and include unknown equity in all of your list pools. Okay, so now let's go on to property filters here. So in St. Louis, I like to do 2 to 4 beds. Now, why am I, not, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll do a 2 to 8. Right? Or something like that. And they'll be lazy, frankly, and they won't cap the bottom and top of these filters. If you're not doing that, you are hurting your probability. Remember what we said in the beginning. This is all a probability game. This is all a probability game. So you want to make sure and target exactly the majority of the deals you will do, right? Yeah, you might do a 6-bedroom sometime, but not most of the time. So let's always target what we're going to do most of the time to give us the strongest probability. Baths, 1 to 3, pretty popular. Okay, square footage, let's say for me, now I'm a Section 8 investor. I don't mind them to be pretty small. I'm going to go square footage 800. Year built, you must cap the top of this filter. If you don't, what happens? You get new builds. You get new builds. And if you get new builds, there's no pain. Well, there might be pain, but there's no fixing up, right? The house there's no time decay. The house hasn't had time to fall apart. So the newest home that we're going to mess with here, is built in 2005. So somewhere around 20 years old or so. All right, let's keep going. Property type, another very important filter, residential and single family. If you don't click this, you will ruin your entire list. A lot of really experienced people forget to click this sometimes, and it completely and absolutely ruins your list. You'll get, everything, right? You could get commercial properties depending on the area, mobile homes, you can get land. And that's really important. The same with beds and baths. You typically always want to use at least beds, baths, or square footage. One of the three. If you don't use one of the three, then you're probably going to get land and your phone will ring off the hook. But if you don't know how to wholesale land or you don't know how to develop land, then you won't be able to do anything with the property. So I've made that mistake before. Also residential and single family. If that's what you're focusing on, you need to make sure and click that property type. That's very, very, very important. Okay, so now let's go down here and let's just say we want the basic 5 years of ownership. You want some years of ownership. You want some, 5 at least, I would say, at least 5 years. If we're talking owner occupied, we need way more, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, so now that I put in my filters here, let's see what we've got. I'm going to go back, St. Louis County. There it is. And let's see what the count is. Drum roll. 15,874. Okay. But what if my budget was less? What if my budget was less? What I would do if I said, well, yeah, but it's around, I told you at the beginning, it's around 2,000 pieces per deal, right? And if you don't know these numbers and you want to do mail, you should be scheduling a meeting with an REIPrintMail free direct marketing coach who will tell you this information for free, and they'll have a meeting with you and go over all the things that it takes in order for you to get a deal, because we track results all across the country and it's free. But what you would do is you would say, all right, well, I need to increase the years of ownership. And I'm doing that right now. You pick year 1900 because you just go as far back as you can. And then over here on this side, let's just say we want something like 2010, and pick a date here and close, and it's going to update. And so now that means, what is that? That's 2010. So that's what, 13 years? Yeah, 13 years, almost 14. So look at that. 4,951. Now that's a list that is highly targeted. So I didn't stop at the 15,000, right? And go, oh, well, let me just get a portion of it, right? That's not smart. I could get way deeper on this, and I could actually increase my probability to a point that I get an extra 0.25% response rate. That's what we do here. We help you make the phone ring and we increase your response rates. That's our goal. And so these are things that we have to do every day. And so when you're pulling a list and you bring us a list, or you bring any marketing company a list, you need to make sure and not just kind of give up at the 15,000. If it's not enough, I would actually even filter this down even more. I would probably maybe tighten up year built, or tighten up beds and baths, tighten up equity. I could even do that with one click, right? I could say, well, give me more meat on the bone, 75 to 100% plus, including unknown equity, because I love, love, love unknown equity. And we can see, let's see what we come up with. Yeah, it doesn't take much off, but the point is you get the idea, right? Make sure and filter down to your budget. That's a wonderful lesson. All right. Is everybody following? I see people in the chat room. Is everybody getting it? Hopefully you're getting some value out of it. Let's focus on some vacants. All right. Vacants. Now I have some zip codes here, and I love this aspect of, I don't know how many list building systems all of you guys have used. There's a bunch of them out there, but this is really awesome that we can, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this and then create another list. But I'm going to do a zip code pull here. And who hates typing in zip codes? I do. One of the cool things about Smart is that I could just, bam, put them all in here and add them right in. Isn't that awesome? Kind of gets you dizzy when it goes there from the sky view. All right. Now, what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to go ahead and delete these again so that we don't spend time with the filters thinking about each one that I click. So let's go ahead. Now, this is a live list that I'm pulling for a client right now. And so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to keep this one clicked. Include only vacants. Very important. We like vacants. Why? Because they're vacant. You can cut bigger deals. You have more flexibility. We love vacants. They're a fantastic additive to any list. There's usually not a bunch of them, but there's usually a good number of them to where it's a wonderful addition to a list. Or if you're just starting out to get your first deal, vacants are a great place to start. So we are again going to omit MLS listings. We're not going to click the absentee button this time because it's vacant. So we're not going to do that because we don't care because it's vacant. All right, but we may care about the market value. So in these areas in Chesapeake, Portsmouth, this area of Virginia, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do about, let's say, about 375,000. Okay, and then we're going to do equity. We're going to do the same thing. All right, property filters. We're going to drop in the same thing, 2 to 4, because that's kind of my target. Now, your target may be different, but that's, if you're doing Airbnbs or, short-term rentals, it may be different, but you can put in whatever you like. But remember, filter down to your budget. Year built, we're going to make sure and cap that off, 2005. Then we're going to not make the terrible mistake of not clicking residential and single family, because that's what I want. I'm going to click those. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm not going to click has owned the property for 5 years. Why? Because it's vacant. And if it's vacant, I like it. I can negotiate. I can still negotiate and I can and get a good deal. All right, let's put these zip codes in and see how I do. Isn't that wonderful that I don't have to type them in? Isn't that great? And all of you will get a chance to use this. Now, look, it was kind of keeping up with them there, but you can see that I've got 902 here. I've got 902 vacants in this area. It's a pretty big area, but I've got 902. So now I know that in this area, that my client could send 902 pieces of mail for about 3 to 4 months, and the probability of him getting a deal, pretty high. Usually takes about 2,500 pieces or so in this area to get a deal. If you want to know things like that, you should probably book a meeting with your direct marketing coach. But ultimately, if he sends around 1,000 pieces a month, he could probably get it in about 90 days, which is a great way to prime the engine if you're looking to get to your first deal. It's also a fantastic additive. So if someone may be doing a big campaign, but they want to do a vacant campaign alongside it because they like vacant houses, there's a lot of pain there. And what are we looking for as real estate investors? We're looking for pain. This is a good list, a vacant list. And so I like it a lot. Now, while I have the vacant list pulled up here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now talk about our preset lists in here, which is very cool. We have, and I actually have some statistics here. Let's get these statistics. Let's click on this highly likely to sell. Now I have these other, see this highly likely to sell? There's a bunch of other things in here that are preset, right? But if I click on this highly likely to sell, let's see what comes up. It's probably not going to be many. It almost never is, but look at that. So 44. Now, right now, I've got about 9 campaigns in front of me. This is what we do at REIPrintMail is we track all these things and we say, okay, let's see how campaigns are going so that when you call us and you say, hey, I'm from the Virginia Beach area, how many pieces does it take to get a deal? And now you have a realistic amount. And by the way, how do I pull my list? And by the way, what piece do I send? And by the way, how often do I send it? And, do I need to have the same phone number on every one of them? Should I add my website? All of these questions we help you answer. But let's go over some of these. Highly likely to sell response rates, 1.29%. 9% in Arkansas, 3.23% in Iowa, 5.56% in Kentucky, 4.76% in Louisiana, Mississippi, 2.98%. Wow. 3.31% in, looks like Wisconsin, 4.2% in Texas. I'd be interested to know where that was. And then we're 7.27% in West Virginia. This is our highest producing response rate lists. Now, you don't get a lot of data, but again, it's fantastic to add to any campaign, or if you're trying to get to your first deal, it's a fantastic way to get to your first deal. So very high probability that you're going to get some traction out of things like this, especially if you have the ability, if you're virtual and you can get highly likely to sell in a bunch of different areas. You know, if you can get it in like 10 cities or something, you can actually get some, you know, quantities of substance, you know, 1,000, 2,000, that kind of thing. So that's our highly likely to sell list. Now, what I do want to do is go to the owner occupied list. And so let's refresh. How's everybody doing? Is it too much information overload? Is everybody getting overloaded?
Ryan, Barry O has his hand raised. He'd like to ask a question if you got time.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Why not? While I'm getting ready, let's do it. Get my Red Bull ready for the question. Barry O, no? No?
Barry, go ahead and unmute, man.
Well, somebody. Oh, go ahead.
Did you have a question? I'm good. I'm just listening in.
Okay, got it. All right, so we do have a couple of questions in the Q&A. One, do you change any of your list filters for the marketing shifting like we've been seeing in the near future? Tired landlords are going to be okay with that. I don't care what kind of shift you're going through right now. The fact is that real estate is high. And what we're noticing is that in the middle, right, is where the squeeze is. So all of the median homes in the middle, they're the ones that are having trouble moving because basically the Fed destroyed the real estate market and the move-up buyer is dead, right? So they can't move up because 86 or something like that, some crazy number, 86% of loans or somewhere around there, don't quote me, are like under 5.8% or something nuts. Like it's crazy. And so why would they trade that for less house that's a little bit more expensive at a higher, at a higher price point for monthly payment? Why would you do that? So that's why that's kind of stagnant. But what we're noticing is the luxury end is doing really, really well. We have a lot of people that are going after luxury houses that are getting huge discounts. So that market is doing well. And then on the other end, on the really low end, kind of what I do Section 8 properties and really small properties that are really, really cheap. I'm still getting great deals on those. So I think the middle is where you're seeing the most stagnation there. But yes, you can change your list depending on where the bull market is. Yeah. Does the tool support any land filters? It does. There is some in there. There's some in there. We're actually getting better at it, but there is a vacant land selection on there. So you can get vacant land. And actually what we've added, which is really cool, is vacant land with mobile homes. I don't know, a lot of you who do this kind of thing with the vacant land with mobile homes, you get the mobile home, you can rent it, but you own the land, which is absolutely awesome. So that option is in there where you can only find the, you can do vacant land or you can do vacant land plus a mobile home. So pretty cool. All right. So let's do owner occupied. Can I find for sale by owners or for rent by owners? That would be our REI Leads Daily, Tony. You should look at our REI Leads Daily. We have a, I think it's $100 a month or something like that, and you can get those sent to you every day in your market and be the first to get them. That's a pretty cool product. Okay, so now here's where I want to go. I want to go to, and I'm doing this for a reason, Baltimore County, Maryland. Let's look at that. Yep, that's it. Now, this is a really, really important lesson. So sharpen your pencils. This is cool. Okay. Wait a minute. All right. Now, I'm going to get rid of, see how it's thinking there? I want to get rid of this for the time being so we can go over this. All right, so we can say it together. Exclude bank-owned properties, right? We know that. Remember, we're doing owner-occupied. So we still don't want MLS listings with owner-occupied. This is the trickiest list and everybody screws it up. You still don't want MLS. Now, exclude properties where the mailing and property address are the same. That's our absentee button. So we don't want that, right? Because we don't want absentee. We want owner occupied. So show only properties where the mailing and property address are the same, right? So we're going to go ahead and click that. All right, so that's great. Now we're going to go down here and we're going to say the same thing. Market value, but it's Baltimore, Maryland. Let's go 400,000. Okay. All right. Now let's go to equity filters and let's do 51 to 74, 75. About the same thing. Let's put those in. Okay. Property filters. Okay. Let's do 2 bed, 4 bath. Sorry, 2 to 4 bed, 1 to 3 bath. It's that easy to screw up your list. Just say it out loud and screw it up. My goodness. It's so easy to do. Let's do square footage. Remember, we always want to use at least 1 beds, baths, or square footage. You have to, or you will get land. For you land people, that's great. You might love it. For those of you that don't want it, bad news bears, because marketing is expensive. All right, property type, residential, single family. Okay. Now, where we're going to start it first, because if I were using owner occupied, you know, as a mailing, and let's say I only had room in my budget to send 5,000 pieces, right, in a big area. This isn't going to do it, but this gives me a good starting point. But this also is going to help me teach a lesson. So we got own for 5 years. Okay. Now we're going to go to the area and let's see the count. Okay. So you can see it's all lit up here. It's great. You can see. And whoa, what happened? There's no way. I know you've been pulling lists and this has happened. I know it's happened where you're pulling your list and all the data disappears. It's gone. And not only is it gone, but you know darn well that it's lying to you. There is not 960 single family homes over 50% in equity in Baltimore, Maryland. Come on, be serious. What's happening? Typically, what that means is that you have a problem with one of the big 3, the beds, the baths, the square footage. The municipality isn't reporting on one of those things. And so you selected it, and now it threw the computer into a tizzy. It has no idea what to do. So what does it do? It gives you nothing. It says, nope, 960 of them are in there. We got those, so we'll go ahead and give you data on that, but we're not going to give you the rest. That's not okay. That is a lie. And the fact is if you use this list, you will fail. So you have to recognize when the machine does something that's unreasonable and you need to fix it. If you don't take the time to find out what it is, typically with the big 3, sometimes it can be with property like residential property or single family homes. Sometimes it can, like Louisiana has that problem. But the fact is that you need to take the time and figure it out before you get your marketing list. Your list is no place to be lazy. It's no place to be lazy. It will cost you dearly. And so what we have to do is we've got to figure out, is it beds, is it baths, or is it square footage? Let's start with baths here. Let's just open up the bath filter and see, and let's take a sip of Red Bull. I have a problem. I love my energy drinks. Could you tell? All right. So I'm going to open that up here. Did that change anything? We're getting ready to see.
We are not sponsored by Red Bull, by the way.
No, we're not sponsored by Red Bull. I wish we'd get free Red Bull. All right. No, that didn't help. That didn't help. Look, still 986. It did change it a little. It did change it, but that's not it. So let's go ahead and add that back. 1. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add back the 3, and then we'll go ahead and try bedrooms and see if that's the problem. And we're just waiting. We need elevator music. All right, here we go. 3. Now what we're going to do is see if maybe bedrooms is the issue. And there's no way to fix this. People, this is a municipality problem. That's where we're getting the data. And so you're never going to be able to fix it. So you just have to try things until you find out what the problem is. All right, let's see here. Whoa, something's happening. Something's happening. Oh, I should have just opened up the filter there. I may have made it go all goofy here. All right, so just open it back up to what it was. There it is. You can tell as we hover over these, they're not reporting bedrooms. So we have to change how we're pulling this list. Okay. So, and I've got way too much data. Let's try 1 to 2 bathrooms and see if we can whittle this down a bit. And it looks like it's doing fine with square footage. So that's what we need to do. We need to get that way down here, maybe somewhere around there. I got 1658. I mean, you know, I'm buy and hold kind of guy. I do rentals, so I don't really want huge homes. Sometimes you do, but yeah, see, so it's even taking that a little bit wonky. So square footage is still kind of crazy. It looks like what we can trust here is baths. That looks like what we can trust. So we need to probably just stick with baths. And so now we got to get this data down. It's too much. It's too much. So what is the most important part of an owner occupied list? It is your transaction range. What do you think? And let's hear it in the chat room. What do you think is the amount of years that you should pull for a successful owner occupied list? Anybody? Anybody? Ooh, they're getting close. Getting close. Whoever said 20 years, you're the closest. The fact is really what we need to do is something like 30 years. Why? Because seniors are fantastic. It's a fantastic lead. And there's plenty of decay in the house. There's plenty of no updates happening. So there's plenty of value to be created. And so let's just do like 1996, something like that. And let's do that. And let's close this out and let's see how it reacts. So hopefully when you approach this problem and you see this problem and it happens, and you're like, all the data disappears, something doesn't feel right. You need to play with the filters until it does feel right. And that's really, really important. You're getting ready to spend a lot of money on marketing. You're already in a world where you could make one mistake and lose so much money because it's marketing. It's really, really difficult to do. That's why if you go to our reviews and you see all of our REIPrintMail reviews done by investors, while we help so many investors get so many deals, most of the time they come to us and go, I don't have time to think about that. I can't really, I don't want to screw it up. You just do it for me because you're trusted. I can see all your reviews. My friends use you. And so, that's why we're so popular, is because it's so easy to screw up. And then we go and figure out the science behind it. All right, so there you go. Now we went from 20,000, actually it was more than 20,000 because it was maxing out, down to 11,000. But this is starting to be a good list. This is starting to be a good list. I could filter it down even more. I could take away equity, and actually that's one button push. Let's not be lazy. Let's not be lazy. Let's do it. Let's not take my own advice. Okay. Let's just see. 75 to 100% plus include under sold 9,000. It's not much. But anyway, I could keep playing with this list and get down to a really good owner-occupied list that's most likely filled with seniors and a lot of value inside the homes. Owner-occupied is still our second performing list. It is still very difficult to get owner-occupied to work. Be careful. Always use high years of ownership. Always, always, always use high years of ownership. And make sure that all your filters are working appropriately, because owner occupied is tricky. If you want my advice, start with absentee, start with the highly likely to sell list, start with the vacants, and then if you need more data, go to owner occupied. That's my advice. The absentee are a little bit thinner deals because you're working with a lot of landlords, but just do more of them. So we've got a few questions. What does the time go out between the municipality would report something such as a pre-foreclosure and when it shows up in our search? So pre-foreclosure is, it's a non-judicial type process. Like there's no judge. It's usually just a process. So once Liz Pendens is filed, then it is, you know, scrapable. So then it can be scraped, but it depends on how long your data source is actually taking to refresh the data. Smart refreshes 2 or 3 times a week. So, you know, there's some other competitors who will remain unnamed that we still use, and a lot of customers still have a lot of success with them because different list sources work differently in different areas, but they still take a long time to refresh. And so it would take longer there. What is a good time frame? Probably about 3 months. You probably didn't want to hear that, did you? Which is why pre-foreclosure, there's a secondary list business around getting that data quicker. And so pre-foreclosures, though, right now, not doing very well, to be honest with you. Some people may be having luck with them in certain pockets. I'll tell you right now, I've got a lot of clients. I send millions of pieces of mail a year. And not for me personally, but for my clients. And pre-foreclosure, frankly, banks aren't letting people go into foreclosure anymore. It's, you know, they're, you know, doing 40-year mortgages, and I met someone the other day who had $34,000 just forgiven, that they kept tacking to the back of the loan, which is crazy. And so the fact is can you even get, you know, foreclosed on anymore? If you're willing to work with them and you communicate, it sure looks like they're just going to work with you and figure it out. After 2008, banks do not want to be in the real estate business. And for those of you big investors out there, you know what I'm talking about. How much do I need to be willing to invest monthly between the service of marketing to make REI Complete worth it? Oh, REI Complete is a different product. That is a done-for-you product. That is where VAs actually field the phone calls. And we've got a few clients on here that are actually using it. I see you on there. But basically, you know, they do all the follow-up work. Who likes to do follow-up? I don't. So the last 14 houses I bought on the REI Complete system. I'm in the middle of rehabbing my last 4 right now, and I'm going to turn it back on. I'll tell you that typically it's a $5,000 a month deal. If 5,000 is a pretty good number. Most, I think our average spend is somewhere just above the 5,000 a month mark for that system. And it's a wonderful business in a box, right? You've got all the people that are going to field the calls and follow up for you and take notes and do all that. So you're doing all the stuff you like, which is negotiate and close. So I love the system. And to those of you who had just signed up, I think we had 10 members sign up last week. If you're on here, welcome to the family. You're going to love the system. I do. I love it. Now, since we just finished our owner-occupied list, I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I'm going to say at this point, we're going to make you an offer. So thank you for hanging in there. We're going to make you an offer. We're going to offer 5,000 free leads out of the smart system. You saw what I was pulling in. If you don't have the smart system, or if you're paying by the lead inside the smart system and you want 5,000 free leads, not only 5,000 free leads, but 5,000 free leads pulled by someone like me, a direct marketing coach. We have 6 of them here, and they're very knowledgeable. They've been doing this a long time, and they are experts. They will walk you through one of these pulls and help you so that you have the best probability of getting a deal. They can also answer a lot of questions about mailing and things like that. We're going to go ahead and put up a link. Alex, if you're out there, or one of the moderators, Adam, if you could, go ahead and put up the link right now where somebody could just click on that and book a meeting. If you want the 5,000 free leads, you have to book a meeting with one of the direct marketing coaches so that you can pull it. Because the point is that we show you how to do this so that you could do it on your own and that you experience the system. We're going to pull up that lead right now. Okay, thank you, Alex. I can see it there. So you can see the 5K link there. That is the 5K free leads. So book a meeting. It's free. Ask every question you can about your market. Ask every question you can about mail if you want to know that, about pulling lists, the cadence in which you do it, maybe the best mail piece in the area. That's a fantastic question to ask all of our direct marketing coaches, because they know they have access to 7 million lines of data when it comes to mail sent and response rates that came in. So they can say, hey, in this area, this is the best mail piece. So you should absolutely book a meeting with them and ask them as many questions as you can and get your free list. Barry, you have a question. You've been so patient. You've had your hand up. Would you mind asking your question now? While I Drink my Red Bull. Can you unmute or can he mute? Can he unmute? I don't know.
He put his hand down.
Oh, okay. I must have answered it. I'm that good. All right. Is there any other questions right now? I'd be happy to answer questions about your market. If somebody wants to raise their hand, I'll answer questions about your market if you like, or about the software, or just about real estate. I enjoy talking about real estate. So if anybody has their hand up, Tony, it looks like you have your hand up. You can go ahead. You want to unmute yourself?
Thank you so much for this. This is a great session.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, my question is, I live in Columbus, Ohio, and we have Franklin County, which is where I actually live, and that's populated, super competitive. How would I go about finding out, or let me ask it two ways. Should I be marketing in Franklin County, or should I look at one of the surrounding counties so I could dominate some with less competition? And if the answer is B, how do I determine which county that should be?
Well, our direct marketing coaches can help you with picking a market, but I will tell you that I wouldn't be afraid of that market. I wouldn't really be afraid of that market. A lot of the real estate investors that are listening right now, and I notice a lot of their names and they're heavy hitters and they're doing 5 deals a month and that kind of thing. We don't really see that market as necessarily overly competitive. Yes, it's competitive, but it's no Phoenix, Arizona, right? It's no Dallas, it's no Tampa. And so the fact is that, you can still get, somewhere around, 2,500, 3,000 pieces per deal there, with mail. And I would be sending the direct offer check there. Okay, so I don't know if you know what that is. Are you aware?
I'm well aware. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I would be sending there because it works really well there. And I happen to just know that. For those of you that don't know, the direct offer check, basically a long time ago when everybody got the cough, right? When everybody got the cough, what happened was that they started giving out money, right? The government started giving out money in forms of checks. Well, a lot of our clients started using checks to send to all of the sellers, right? And we ended up devising a way to send an actual offer that was pertinent, right, to the real estate. And it worked amazing, and it has not stopped yet. It is our #1 piece, and I happen to know in your area that that's a great piece to start with. You'll be kicking the competition's butt. I mean, if you do that, I wouldn't see, I would say average, response rate is around 0.5%. I wouldn't be shocked for you to get 0.7, 0.8, even 1% doing that. Look, and that's 7 or 8 or 10 phone calls per 1,000 would be a reasonable expectation there. Obviously, it's marketing. Anything could happen. You could send mail and get no calls. That's what marketing is. But on average, if you were to do it for a year, then that's something that I would expect. So, and the average client gets a deal every, 15 to 25. The good ones, 15 to 18 phone calls is a deal. The people that are new to the business, 30, 40 phone calls is a deal, but you only need a couple. And then you've got enough money to increase. And increasing is important because for everyone needs to understand this. If you pay money to market to get 1 deal in a quarter, okay, do you think that's safer or more dangerous than marketing to get 3 deals in a?
Ryan, your microphone went out.
How about now?
Good to go, buddy.
Good to go? Okay, sorry about that. So I don't know where you guys left off, but I asked a question. I said, is it more or less dangerous to market for 1 deal in a 90-day time frame or to market for 3 deals in a 1-month time frame? Now, I know that budget has a lot to do with this, but the fact is if you're marketing for 3 deals a month, most of the heavy hitters do that, at least 3. Why? Because if they screw up 1 deal, they're still making money. They screw up 2 deals, they're still profiting that month. 3 deals, that's really kind of hard to do if you know what you're doing. And so the fact is, if I market for at least 3 deals a month, because I always end up making money. And so keep that in mind when you're trying to decide what's safer when I get started, right? So if you're staring at a budget, and you got 10,000 set over here to do it, and you go, okay, I'm going to get started in real estate investing. And you go, okay, I'm gonna just, but let me just test it. Let me just stick my toe in the water. That is far more dangerous than using the probability the best way you can, right? If you market for 3 deals, the probability of you getting a deal is really high. If you market for 1 deal, the probability of you losing that deal, something going wrong, or like what happened to me, where a lady basically didn't pay for a laptop that she had got a loan on, and I lost the deal because they put a lien on the house for a $4,000 laptop. Like, I'd never seen that before. But the fact is you're like, what? I thought this deal was in the bag, right? And now you feel like you lost the marketing. The thing is that probability is where you should be living. Anyway, Tony, I'm sorry, I went off on a complete tangent there, but it was all good stuff.
Ryan, Lauren has her hand raised as well.
All right, Lauren.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem.
I wanted to ask you, I'm just getting started. So I'm in California, which is not a place to run my business. It's too expensive here. I'm a Lou Brown client, so I'm looking for.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm interested in properties in the middle of the country, in the north, like Great Lakes states, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Indiana, around there. Is there any place that you think is particularly good for me to target?
Well, if you're, personally from where you're at, like the places that are really untouched, like New Mexico right there, and Texas isn't untouched, but you can get on the outskirts of places and it's a really great market and you can do really well. I would rather tell you where to avoid. Like it's pretty tempting to go to Arizona. It's pretty tempting to go to like Boise, Idaho. It's pretty tempting to go to like Nevada, like, specifically in Las Vegas. Be wary of that. That's where everybody goes. That's there for some reason in California. Like, you need to be careful. I would probably, if you had the pick of anywhere, boring states, right? Boring. Think Arkansas. It's growing, but it's kind of boring, right? Places like Kentucky, right? The outskirts of Tennessee, right? Not a lot going on in the middle of Kansas. But the fact is that you can still get, $7,000-8,000 wholesale deals there, and you can get your feet wet, and for what you're doing, which you're doing subject to, right? You want to buy it, on subject to, and you almost want to sell it on subject to, right? So the fact is and for those of you that don't know, that's Lou Brown, right? Who's been around a really long time, 7 real estate cycles, right? And so he makes sure everybody understands that, because the guy has so much knowledge. But the fact is, he's learned to buy and sell, right, as a subject to, and so in payments on both sides. Well, you can do that a lot easier in really boring places. And so I would nowhere that you would vacation. Right? If you would vacation there, it's out of the question. I wouldn't do it. That would be my advice. And then do the research on each city, though. Do the research on each city and decide, right? Typically, I like to stay above, $500,000 for boring, 500,000 people. If you get under that, it kind of gets really, really out there, but 250 to 500,000 isn't terrible. But, the fact is, just do your research. Are things selling kind of ish? Then you're fine. You're fine. Also, I like to have Facebook groups active in the boring cities. So if you look up a boring city and you go to Facebook and say real estate investors in, blankety blank, Kansas, you want to see some deals going on online. So join those groups and see. It's a great way to do it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Who is next?
You got Paul, Caleb, or John.
Okay, let's just go in that order. Paul?
Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I'm in New Jersey, and I focus on areas that are kind of far from the city. There's no real rural areas in the northwest part of the state, but they're definitely suburban type areas. And I usually do fix and flips.
Mhm, mhm.
So would this help me in a market like that?
I would absolutely get a meeting with a direct marketing coach. We have a postcard that works really well up there. We're not sure why it works really well up there, but it's been working really well up there for years. I'm not just going to spout it out here because we're actually pretty proud of it. The fact is, you should definitely book a meeting with a direct marketing coach if you're not working with somebody. Alex, if you want to write down Paul's name, also give him my email address, Alex.
Hey, Paul, why don't you just direct message me your contact?
Because the fact is the check works really well up there because it's a more aggressive style, and you guys are pretty aggressive in New Jersey, right? I mean, your curse is a second language. You scream across the kitchen table. It's worked really well up there. The check was kind of created up there, but the check works, but not as good as this postcard, and it is cheap. So I would definitely book a meeting.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, Caleb.
Yeah, when you were going over the list, it sounded like there's a couple things that you just can't leave out,
Mhm.
like the property type.
Mhm.
You also said omit active and pending MLS
Mhm.
homes. Were there any other ones that like you absolutely cannot miss?
Yeah. Single family home, and then one of the three beds, baths, or square footage. Make sure they all work. When you pick one and your data disappears, like the lesson that I taught at the end, like you need to be aware of that. But obviously, right, the major decider of your list, absentee, vacant, owner occupied, you're clicking that. You're clicking the property type, residential, single family. You probably don't want to do without equity, right? Now there's a bunch of subject to people on here that we were just talking, like they like to buy a negative equity because they just cut a deal to pay payments for the house, and there's really no other option for that seller, right? And that makes sense. So in some of those cases, you may not want to click equity, but that's only in subject to.
No, I get like fine tuning it. What I'm getting at is like if I accidentally miss something, what do I not want to miss, right?
Yeah,
I don't want to miss one of the three. I don't want to miss property type, and I don't want to miss active or pending.
Right. You also for a good list, you want to make sure and include unknown equity always. Yeah.
Unknown equity always.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mhm. All right. Who's next? John? Is that right, John? No, John, you there? You there, John? John? John,
John, if you want to go ahead and unmute.
Hey, there you go. Sorry.
There we are. Welcome
Yeah.
to the party, John.
I was just wondering what your thoughts are on Hawaii.
Hawaii, man, I'll tell you what, the real estate market out there has been nuts for, years. I mean, the fact is the evaluations are too high.
Oh, you think so, huh?
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that we have an oversized letter. You need to be very aggressive out there. Okay. But most of our clients have been really successful attacking the townhome scene.
Really?
You can still wholesale them, right? You can still buy them and sell them. You just got to work in that, that HOA thing, right? You just, so, but that seems to be the lower hanging fruit. But when you want to do single family homes, I have never seen, but this is weird and I have no idea why it is, no clue, but I have never seen an area, I've never seen it work, but driving for dollars is hopefully everybody knows what driving for dollars is, but driving for dollars out there for some reason works better than any other state. And I don't know if it's because it's an island and it's small and it's compact. I'm not sure. I don't know. But we mail to driving for dollars lists for our long-term clients in Hawaii, and it does really, really well. So I actually recommend, I like pulling lists like this, but get in the car, be amongst real estate, right? Go drive around, write down addresses of beat up homes and then mail it. And obviously get a meeting with a direct marketing coach. There's 2 or 3 pieces that are working really well out there. If you're going to pull lists, maybe attack the townhome scene. You can still make a lot of money. Your townhomes are double what ours are here. So, I mean, you can still make money on them. All right. Looks like I answered them all. Well, gosh.
You got a few questions in the Q&A, Ryan.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see.
You're a popular guy, man.
Yeah, I know. How would you use the filters to target low interest existing loans? Is that even possible? You would want to get a meeting or help from a gentleman here named Nick Orff. He could help you with that. We have a kind of a loan specialty guy here. So you would want to get in touch with him. If you want to send your information, Christopher, to Alex, put your email in the chat. We'll go ahead and have Nick reach out to you. If you're already working with a direct marketing coach, have that direct marketing coach ask Nick. And he will get you a detailed answer. Is there a way to target probate or deceased owner properties? Yes, there are. Probate we're having a little bit more trouble with. I would rather you stick to inherited right now. We actually have an inherited program that's working really well. For a few $100s a month, we actually scrape all the data for you, get you the list on a regular basis, and add mail to it. Inherited is working a lot better than probate right now. There's a bunch of reasons for that, but we'll have to get into it in the next webinar, but inherited seems to be working better. I'm curious, why is the meeting about my specific area for the list 5K lead only 15 minutes? Well, you have to get the specific, Angie, you have to get the specific criteria to your direct marketing coach, and they're going to get right to it. I mean, typically you can see how long it took me to pull these lists. Basically, if you need an extra, our direct marketing coaches are incredibly busy, and they're giving their time away for free here. And so we do limit it to 15 minutes, but you can always book another meeting with them, and they always have a 15-minute buffer. If it goes over, you can get up to 30 minutes. So just so you know, but we do only allow to book 15 minutes because they're putting a lot of campaigns through the system. We typically do about 800 or 900 campaigns a month. And so, they've got a lot of work to do. So we limit it to 15, and I'm glad that they're letting us use them like that. So thoughts on North Carolina? Very saturated, but it used to be 6,000 pieces per deal. It's now closer to 4,000 pieces per deal. It's getting better and better and better. We have a bunch of people here that are really good at North Carolina, and I would schedule a meeting with a direct marketing coach. That is a tougher area. It was beat up pretty good over the past 2 years, 3 years. What are your thoughts on the New York commercial and residential and your program? Commercial is rough. It's got a long way to go down. So I would stay away from commercial because you have no idea. I mean, unless you're wholesaling, I guess you could wholesale it, but you do not want to actually buy that stuff right now, unless you know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing on that. So, but I've seen a lot of people get burned, and a lot of people can't refinance right now. It depends on if you're talking about, you said commercial residential. If you're talking about apartment buildings and things like that, we have a special system that we go to pull that data, and we do have it. It's the best in the country. They kind of own that space. And so we have a partnership with them. If you make a meeting with a direct marketing coach and tell them you want apartments that are, in this range that are considered commercial, we'll be able to help you. But yeah, be careful in that arena. So a lot of foreclosures happening right now. I said that it's hard to get foreclosure. It isn't if you are owning an apartment complex. They are foreclosing like crazy. So be careful. All right, everyone. Look, we got 4 minutes over. I have to get going. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Please book that meeting. We're going to keep this open for a little while longer. Alex, if you want to post that link again so that they can set a meeting with a direct marketing coach, that would be great. Join us for the next webinar. The next one we're going to do is going to be on that REI Complete program that I said, and we're going to do another list building webinar, but we are going to have one with our resident expert, Corey Meeker, who's awesome. He's going to do a whole explanation of our REI Complete system and kind of a little story about him. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a great listen. So hopefully you can make that. We'll be sending out that information. Thank you so much, everyone. I had a great time, and I will see you next time.